everyone, and welcome to our yearly roundup of all the weird news that has happened in 2024. If you're new here, then hello, my name is Nikki. I'm your host with a silent G, and on this channel I cover mainly old mysteries and historical true crime from mainly London, and occasionally from around the world. But in this series, which I make every year, I go back over the strangest news the world has had to offer over the past 365 days, taking it month by month and picking the cream of the crop of the weirdest stories I can find, or in all honesty, the ones I personally like the most. Then, throughout the end of the year, I release 3 episodes a week, one for each month, culminating in an episode where I'll make my predictions of news to come in 2025. And if my review of 2023 was anything to go by, well, I won't be crowned the next Nostradamus, but we can see what I did get right and see if I can recreate my winning streak from 2022, when I got so many predictions correct. So if this is your first time joining me, then this isn't your usual news roundup. This is strictly the stuff that makes you go, wow. As quite frankly, the regular news is far too depressing and genuinely terrifying. So instead, we'll be exploring a few lighter, weird and wonderful stories that may have not made it into the regular newspaper. But don't worry, if anything is going to be hideously awful, then I'll give you a heads up first. So with the disclaimer out of the way, let's jump into January. Before we launch into today's stories, if you are new here, then hi, my name's Nikki and I make podcasts, videos and TikToks about all sorts of weird stuff. So if you're into that, which I have a sneaking suspicion that you might be, then please hit subscribe so we can hang out together again. And if you're not new here, then welcome back, old fiend. Nice to see you again. Now, this series takes a lot of planning, effort and a lot of editing, so if you fancy supporting what I make to help me create this series, then please check out my Patreon at patreon.com/Macabre London, where you can get lots of bonus content. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. Now, our first story today doesn't actually start in 2024. It begins a decade earlier in 2014 at an antiques mall in Maine in the USA. When keen antiques hunter Sarah Rivers Cofield stumbled across a beautiful satin copper-coloured Victorian dress on a trip to a second-hand store, she knew she had to have it. A keen collector of vintage fashions since she was young, Sarah snapped up the dress and took it home. Sarah, who is by day an archaeologist, didn't realise that when she bought the dress, it would reveal a secret which would take a decade to solve. Within the dress's rich fabrics, Sarah found a hidden pocket. Inside the pocket, she found a note which was completely nonsensical. It read, Bismarck, Omit, Leafage, Buck, Bank, Paul, Ramify, Loamy, Event, False, New Event, Green Bay, Nobby, Piped. And so on and so on. The jumbled words seem to run on in every sentence across 2 sheets. As Sarah's historical fashion hobby has spilled out into a blog called Commitment to Costumes, she asked her readers if they could help solve the mystery, and many people posted helpful comments under the blog post with their theories, local knowledge, and offers of sending it to people who knew about code breaking. And with the internet working its magic, it didn't take long for the word to spread, and soon code breakers were on the case. The mysterious note has been listed as one of the top 50 unsolved codes, and likened to the equally mysterious Voynich manuscript. But when one person got their hands on it, they managed to come up with what they think might be a transcription. Wayne Chan, who is a computer analyst at the University of Manitoba in Canada, was keen on cracking codes in his spare time. And he soon recognised this as a telegram code. But after that realisation, it took a further 4 years to work out exactly what it said. After consulting over 170 books on telegram codes from the 1800s, he eventually managed to work it out. These were weather reports sent to the US Signal Corps, an early weather report service. This, at the time, was quite revolutionary and highlights a snapshot of how life was before you could see the weather instantly, pretty much anywhere you look. Nowadays, our phones, computers, TVs, and still the good old-fashioned newspaper still have daily and up-to-the-minute updates on the weather. However, the 1800s were different, and this was the only way to communicate it. These predictions were life-saving and guided people in farming, working, and helped to prevent weather-related incidents, all of which we have in the palm of our hands today. But how did this mysterious note find its way into the pocket of such a fancy dress? Well, for that, local records were consulted to see if this dress could have belonged to someone who worked at the telegram service. But after consulting a list of 18 women's names, none of them matched a label that was found inside the dress marked Bennett. This dress seems too fancy to have been worn to an everyday telegram job, but may have belonged to someone else in the town who received the telegram and decided to keep it in their pocket. At the time, paper was reused many times over and was a precious commodity, so it could well be that the note didn't have anything to do with the woman and that she just found it discarded somewhere and put it in the hidden dress pocket to use later, and then promptly forgot about it. So even though the mystery of what the note contains has been solved in 2024, it's still a mystery as to who owned it and why they need to know what the weather was. And it was hidden away in secret. Perhaps another decade down the line, we might have the answer to that one. But for now, it will have to remain a mystery. We all know that January can be a tough time for people. After the jubilation of December has been packed away and put back in the loft, it can be difficult to navigate the never-ending month. So when a beloved fuzzy TV character naively asked how everybody was doing, I don't think they, or more likely their social media manager, knew exactly what they'd let themselves in for. Elmo, Sesame Street's resident little red furry sweetheart, put up what was seemingly a throwaway status, but it weirdly was met with a huge response. All Elmo happened to ask was, "How is everybody doing?" Now, being a cross-posting king, he managed to reach all the major social media platforms, and the simple question seemed to really strike a chord with people. Before long, people were taking the simple question seriously, and they responded with real and heartfelt answers. On the social media platform formerly known as Twitter, the tweet got a staggering 180 million views, and the responses ranged from amusing, such as, "I'm off to buy some balsamic vinegar," to which Elmo replied, "Elmo hopes it's yummy." I'm not going to do the voice, so stop thinking that I'm gonna. Through to the slightly more concerning and sad, "I'm having a tough time. I love you though." To which Elmo gave a reassuring, "Elmo hopes you're doing okay. Elmo love you today and every day." What Elmo managed to do with his simple question was give people a space to say what they really felt, and boy, did they. Before long, some of the responses were becoming concerning, and so the account ended up posting links to a list of mental health resources that people could visit if they needed them, rather than replying to a puppet. But with the space opened up, Elmo highlighted that indeed, January is a difficult time for many people. Some complained of rent hikes when they said they were already struggling, some said they were just feeling generally down in the dumps, and Elmo replied as much as he could, giving people a non-judgmental response and reassuring them that they were not alone, and the thousands of other responses confirmed that. Others posting on the thread also stepped in to offer encouraging words of support for each other, and also responded to humorous replies as well, which helped to lighten the mood. After many people saying how affirming it was to feel like even though they'd outgrown Sesame Street's programmes decades earlier, they knew that they could always find a safe space within the street's characters, and that sometimes the most simple of advice, which Elmo provides, is just exactly what they need to hear in a time of crisis. Eventually, the post became so viral that even the President of the United States himself weighed in. Joe Biden put up a post which read, "Our friend Elmo is right. We have to be there for each other, offer our help to a neighbour in need, and above all else, ask for help when we need it." So why did such an innocent social media post turn into something which made people reply genuinely? Well, a combination of things. The anonymity of posting online played a large part in people revealing their honest feelings. and even professional therapists weighed in on the topic, saying the innocent question is often the opener at a therapy session. The question coming from a trustworthy and sincere source such as Elmo meant people felt comfortable to let their guard down and bravely admit what might be really going on within themselves. With Elmo having opened up the conversation, it's had an ongoing effect on his social media accounts, and people now go to him to raise questions that may be bothering them with the cuddly Muppet. And whilst he can't get back to everyone, he does respond to a high number of comments and is always sincere in his responses. As Elmo is a relatable character that has had many an emotional arc in the short segments he appears in on Sesame Street, people just knew that he would get whatever they were going through and be there for them. But Elmo didn't just want to put the onus on himself. He reminded everyone that it's important to ask a friend how they're doing and made sure that people knew it's important to open up conversations and take time to listen. And what with Elmo chiming in with the general public, an unlikely mental health helper came along to voice his concerns too. Cookie Monster. Cookie Monster popped up a post which read, "Me here to talk it out whenever you want. Me also supply cookies." And sometimes that's all you need, a box full of cookies and a chat with a non-judgmental furry monster. You know that moment when you're staring at your to-do list and it just feels like the list itself is mocking you? Well, that's where I was a few weeks ago. Halfway through writing an episode, a million tabs open on my computer, and feeling like I'd been sapped of any creative energy and generally overwhelmed. It was safe to say I'd hit a mental brick wall, but that's when I remembered that tucked away in my desk drawer, I had the antidote. That's when I reached for Magic Mind, and after a short break, I was back at my desk getting everything sorted for this year's yearly Weird News Roundup. And it's no surprise I was back to it quickly, as Magic Mind is packed with natural nootropics that help boost brain function. There's ashwagandha, an ancient herb with a name that's super fun to say, but it's great at helping me chill out when my stress levels are feeling like they're about to fall off a cliff. What I really love about Magic Mind is the brand's dedication to using only clean, high-quality ingredients. You can just tell they care about what they're putting into the bottle, and by extension, into your brain. So you know you're only getting the best stuff out there to help you, and it's a fresh little pick-me-up when you need it to help you keep going. It's become my little ritual before writing or editing. Just one shot and I'm back in the zone. It's like magical alchemy, and I'm here for it. Now is the time to place your order if you're curious, as they've given me an exclusive Black Friday offer just for you. So it's currently 50% off until the 6th of December, only by using my link. That's magicmind.com/macabrebf. This year I found that autumn is making me feel like I want to hibernate, but I'm so pleased to share with you what's been helping me to not feel like a bear snuggling in a cosy cave, and to get my brain firing on all cylinders. So if you're looking for a productivity boost that's as effective as it is natural, give Magic Mind a try. And who knows, you may accomplish all your tasks on your to-do list so fast that you've got time to do a little hibernating of your own. Little shed in Powys in Wales, a retired postman named Rodney found something strange was happening overnight once his daily pottering had ceased and he'd put down his tools for the day. When Rodney first realised the items he'd left out the night before had moved, he wondered if there was something supernatural going on. Bird food he had in the shed was being put inside some old boots he had stowed away, and other small items were being picked up and gathered, tidying whatever bits and bobs he'd left out. Thinking he may have a very shed-proud poltergeist on his hands, Rodney decided to set up a motion-activated camera to see what was going on. After checking back the footage, he was surprised to see that he hadn't captured a ghost on camera, but instead, a very helpful little wood mouse. Rodney watched on as his new little friend carefully and diligently tidied away all of his mess into a little tray, so it was all neatly piled up. Surprised that the helpful little rodent was able to take so many items and clear up his mess, Rodney decided that the little mouse could stay, christening the little creature Welsh Tidy Mouse. After circulating the video online, many people found the mouse's antics incredibly cute and noted how good they were at clearing up. Rodney agreed, and in a bid to get more footage and to give the mouse a purpose which would perhaps distract them from potentially destructive behaviour, a little pile of small objects is scattered about for Tidy Mouse to clean up. and amongst it are some little treats for them to enjoy. The little mouse seems to enjoy hiding some of those treats under the items they collect in order to keep them safe for snacking on at a later date. Rodney has also included a few endurance tasks in there to see what the mouse is capable of, adding in small items of various weights to see if they can lift it, and he's eagerly watched the captured footage to see what can be achieved by the wee beastie. Now, strangely, this isn't the first tidy mouse Rodney has had in his life. In 2019, a friend living in Bristol reached out to Rodney, who is a keen wildlife photographer in his spare time, to see if they might be able to capture what they believe to be a rodent helper. With a little finagling of equipment, the pair quickly managed to get the rodent on camera, and that video also ended up going viral. So it's safe to say that Rodney is now a bona fide tidy mouse expert, but you have to admit that his latest friend really takes the cheese. Thanks for joining me for that selection of weird stories. I hope you enjoyed them, and if you did, there'll be more along soon, so make sure you're subscribed or following if you're not already to keep up with the series. If you like this show and what I make in general and want it to continue, then please consider becoming a Patreon supporter, like our executive Patreon producers, Christina, Christoph, Heather's Leg, Lisa, Mary, Ravel, Sally, Sam, Sarah, Terry and Veronica, and all of our other patrons too. If you sign up to Patreon, you get access to my other podcast, Having a Problem, which is a lot of silly historical-based fun, hosted with my fiancé Neil. Plus, there's also hours of other bonus content over there as well. If you'd rather just send a tip or a little Christmas gift from my Amazon wishlist, then I would massively appreciate that too, and I'll leave all the links in the show notes in case you want to check them out. An enormous thank you for even considering doing any of those things, particularly when I know things are tight for a lot of people. So it really does mean the world to me, and I'm always so pleased and grateful when listeners like you want to help me create this haunted history empire we can all call home. And it feels very good to know that you do. Sharing the show around, telling your friends, leaving a comment and reposting my social media posts are all more helpful than you know. A big thanks to today's sponsor, Magic Mind. Remember to check out the links in the description if you want to find out more. Thank you for joining me for this episode. I've been Nikki Druce. Remember to stay spooky, and I'll see you ghouls next time for February.